Welcome everybody. Thank you for choosing to view this video. We're going to be talking about pornography and the ties between pornography and child sex trafficking. And this is a special presentation that Ransom Life put together about just that. But before we get started, I want everyone to know that yes, we will be talking about pornography and how we believe that pornography is harmful to the individual, but also harmful to other people involved. But I want everyone to know that my point in this presentation is not to shame people into changing their behavior. What I want to do is bring people information so they can make an informed decision on themselves as to what they choose to click or what they choose to view. And also I want people to know that this is a family presentation. We designed it with families in mind, so a parent could watch it with their high schooler or middle schooler, or even younger than that. If you have a child younger than middle school, parents' discretion advised, but we believe the sooner you get this conversation started, the better. So let's jump in. I want everyone to know the main point of this presentation. The main point is that porn is a gateway to child sex trafficking and exploitation. So that's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be diving into. And this will be actually a continuation of our Lures and Lies presentation. If you've seen our Lures and Lies presentation, you've probably watched this video that we're about to watch here shortly. So we're going to watch this video, and this will be a continuation of that presentation.
This is Anna. Wait, don't click to someone else yet, because Anna's stuck here on your computer screen. And while you can walk away, her image is stuck on the internet. See, your fantasy is Anna's nightmare. There's a good chance recruiters lured her with flattery. Perhaps they baited her with cash. Maybe they even tranquilized her with date rape drugs. And if Anna's like many others, she stays sedated with alcohol, weed, or coke to numb the pain. Chances are she faces STDs and HIV because she's denied access to protection. We don't know what she's been through because we only see Anna smiling, and they keep showing Anna smiling so that you'll keep watching. See, pornography is integral to human trafficking and prostitution. In 9 countries, almost half, 49%, said that pornography was made of them while they were in prostitution. This generation fights sex trafficking more than anyone ever has, and more than anyone ever has, this generation consumes porn. Fighting human trafficking and then watching porn is like protesting a corrupt politician and then donating to his campaign. You browse privately, going from Anna to Zoe and back to Anna. Watch your favorite fantasy and then walk away. But Anna's still there. She's stuck there, stuck in this life because you click. Each click, each link, each URL visit and play button, this is the currency of porn. This is the price of Anna's life. The $100 billion pornography industry is fueling the appetite for children as well. Teenage girls now make up the biggest slice of viewable porn, which by definition is considered trafficking. The demand for porn fuels the trafficking industry, and you can take away that demand. You can cut the cord on this machine. You can bankrupt the system. You can empty the pimp's pockets. You can free Anna by simply refusing to click.
So porn is a gateway. We're going to be looking at that from 2 different lenses, one as an adult and one as a child. So if you're an adult viewing pornography, it may start off as what you might feel like is a casual viewership. You're not addicted to porn. You're just, every now and then you're watching it. You're a legal adult watching other legal adults have sex. I mean, what's wrong with that? But what we're going to explore later on is that type of behavior, viewing pornography, can lead into deeper and deeper and darker areas of pornography, to where you may be knowingly or unknowingly looking at child pornography. And not only that, it could even lead to the step further beyond that, but seeking out children to have sex with online. And so there's that, and then there's also from a child's point of view. If you're a child viewing pornography, they say that the youngest age of viewing pornography is between the ages of 11 and 14. But some people say it's even younger than that. Some people say that children start viewing pornography nowadays at the age of 8 or maybe even 9. And so that's a scary thought to think about, because a lot of times parents haven't had that conversation with their children yet about what sex is. And so children are watching pornography, and that framework of sex is being imprinted on their minds from pornography. And a lot of times it's hardcore porn that is not at all what sex was meant to be. Also, if you're a child, you're being groomed as you're watching pornography to seek out behaviors that are not healthy, or not wholesome, or not good for that child, or even any adult for that matter. And that could lead them into an area where they're able to be sought out by a pimp or a trafficker that wants to take them and sell them for sex. And that reminds me of a story of a former pimp. There was a former pimp that was being interviewed by a journalist, and the journalist was asking him about the grooming process for children. Like, how do you get children to want to have sex with other people? How can you get people to do that, or children to do that? And his response was scary. He was saying that the grooming process for children is a lot easier nowadays than it ever has been, because children are being groomed from a young age. And they're being groomed either from pornography or from movies or TV show or music, whatever pop culture out there. They might be directly or indirectly being groomed for this type of lifestyle. And that's kind of scary to think about. So hopefully this information will help bring awareness to you as a parent, to you as a child, so that we can keep our children safe. And so we're going to look at the facts. We're going to look at the problem, what we see as the overarching problem, and what we see as the solution to all of this. So first of all, with the facts, there's a lot of facts that we could go on about pornography on the brain. I'm not going to go too far into the effects that pornography has on the brain. Whenever you're looking at it, porn, there's neurotransmitters that are being released in your brain, and these neurotransmitters that are released in your brain are the same that are being released when you're having sex. And so that neurotransmitter is designed for you to be bonding with the person that you're having sex with. But unfortunately, when you're watching porn, you're not bonding to a person, you're bonding to an inanimate object, a computer screen, a laptop screen. You're bonding to pixels, and that's a scary thing to think about. But I could also talk about how porn is linked to depression and anxiety, and even relationship problems, or problems like erectile dysfunction. But the main fact that we're going to be going over today is that porn has the same effects on your brain as hard drugs have on your brain, like cocaine. And the difference between cocaine and porn is that cocaine would be considered a substance addiction, whereas porn would be considered an arousal addiction. And a substance addiction is when someone is addicted to one thing. They're addicted to a substance, so they keep going back for more and more of that substance. And that as you get a little bit of that substance, you want the next level of it. You need the next level of it so that your brain will be satisfied. But porn is different because it's not seeking out the same thing over and over again. It's seeking out new things over and over again. And that's important to understand because the porn industry understands that. The porn industry knows that people are going to get bored with the same porn over and over again. So they have to get creative. They have to get unique. So I was online. I found Pornhub has information about 2019 and other years in review, and what they do is they gather statistics about the traffic that comes in through their website, what people are looking at, what people are searching for, and they use that on their website, and they show everyone that so that they can kind of understand. And they think it's cool. It's kind of like in a braggadocious way. They put all of that information out there, but it's helpful for people like me and people like you that are viewing it so that we can be informed as to what's going on in our culture. If you look at this list, there are several shocking things. Like the number 2 item on the list is alien porn. Apparently people are searching for that. Number 3 is POV. That stands for point of view. And if you've ever seen the virtual reality headsets or the Oculus Rift, those are being used. There's porn being designed so that you can watch porn through those headsets. So it's like virtual reality. If you're wondering what number 8 is, Apex Legends, that's a popular video game nowadays. But the one I really want to focus on is the number 1 search, and that's amateur. Amateur porn is a fast-growing part of pornography, and that is important to understand because pornography is not just porn stars making porn at a porn studio. Pornography is also normal people at home having sex and uploading it so they can make money. Pornhub has an amateur program where you can sign up to be an amateur porn star and upload your own videos, and they say you can make up to $40,000 a month by uploading your videos. You might be wondering how that's possible. That's possible because the more people that view that video, the more money, the more that advertising space is worth. So as people are watching that video, they're also looking at the advertisements that are all around that video, and you can make money off of being an amateur porn star in that way, which people have the right to do whatever they want to do. That's fine. And I'm sure Pornhub has their own ways of vetting these amateur people that are signing up for the program. But the problem with that is that anyone can upload videos, and sometimes anyone can say that they are 18 and then get their video up there. And not only that, adults can say that the child that they're having sex with is actually 18 or barely legal, and they have sex like that, and Pornhub thinks that's okay. But we'll see here that there's a lot of times there's videos that get put up on Pornhub that are a problem. Here's a couple of quotes that we pulled from Exodus Cry. They have a website and a Facebook page. We pulled these graphics from their social media. Here's a quote from the Sunday Times. Pornhub is awash with secretly filmed creep shots of schoolgirls and clips of men performing sex acts in front of teenagers on buses. And then the other quote here is from Sophia. She's a child sex trafficking survivor. And she says, videos of my assaults and videos of me being forced to dance and strip began popping up on the popular tube site Pornhub. And some of them I was as young as 9, and others I was 15. And that's pretty shocking to read, and it kind of hurts to see that as well. And we're not just targeting Pornhub, but Pornhub is the one that's in the news right now. It's not just Pornhub, though. There's a lot of different websites that are functioning the same way that Pornhub does, that anyone can upload the videos. And there's minors that are being put up on these porn websites, and the porn industry either they don't know it or they choose to turn a blind eye to it. So that's important to understand. And those are the facts that we're looking at. And before we jump into what we see as the overarching problem, I want to go over a little bit about the history of porn. So 30 years ago, porn was rare and hard to find. If you, we'll talk in the eyes of a kid named Billy. Let's say there was Billy 30 years ago. He was trying to find pornography that he could look at, or he was interested in seeing what a naked woman looked like. That's normal for a kid to be curious in that way. So he would be looking around. He heard that his friend's dad had a porn stash of magazines, Playboy magazines, in his room. So Billy went to his dad's room to see if his dad had a stash that laying around that he could look at. So he was looking around there. He was always wanting to go to the library so he could go to the art section. And in the art books, they have nude paintings, nude sculptures, things like that, anything to get a glimpse of skin. And so that's what he was seeking out. And then Billy turned 18 years old. So now he's legally able to go purchase pornography or go rent videos from the video store. It was popular to go to the video store and rent porn, but the thing is there was still a stigma behind it. Let's say Billy was standing in line with his XXX rated movie that he was holding, and he was seeing all the people that he knew from school or from the neighborhood, and people saw him as like, isn't that Billy? Oh, he's got that video. What's he doing with that video? Or he's sitting there in line and his friend's mom walks by. That can be really embarrassing. Or he goes to the register to cash out and rent out this video, and he knows the person behind the register. So it can be kind of awkward and embarrassing, and a lot of times it was easier for Billy to drive to the next town over so he could go to the video store over there and not know anyone, so it wasn't as embarrassing. And so there's a lot of hoops you had to jump through. That was 30 years ago, but let's look at 1990. In 1990, something happened. There was the World Wide Web that came about. And it's not the World Wide Web that we know of today for the kids that are watching. I grew up in the 90s, so I'm familiar with it, the dial-up internet, and it was really slow. It wasn't what we know of today. But it was possible to go and seek out pornography in that way. A lot of it, you had to download the videos, and if someone was trying to download a video, it might take 30 minutes to download a 5-minute video clip of pornography. And it was just difficult to get to and get around. But it was there, it was possible, and people were putting porn on those websites. And then something crazy happened in 2007. In 2007, there were 3 main things that happened. The first thing is that high-speed internet became affordable, and it became more accessible for people to get that high-speed internet. So there was no more need for dial-up, and anyone could go and get high-speed internet and start looking for porn all over the place wherever they had internet. And also porn sites took on a YouTube approach like Pornhub, and where anyone could upload their videos and go from there. There was a lot more free access to pornography. Instead of having to pay for porn, they could go and just view whatever videos were uploaded. And the other thing that happened in 2007 was the iPhone. The iPhone was born. And this is significant because the iPhone is one of the pioneers in the smartphone world. Now you have a computer that is in your pocket that you can access pornography wherever you are, as long as you have a data plan or you're connected to Wi-Fi. And not only that, but the years following that, 2008, 2009, 2010, every year Apple was releasing a new iPhone. And the problem with that is parents would have the original iPhone, the new one would come out, so they go buy the new one and have this own iPhone. They didn't know what to do with it, so they pass it down to their kids, along with other technology like tablets or laptops. as technology is growing, these adults are getting this technology and they just keep passing it down to the kids. And this technology is acting as a pacifier or like a babysitter, but unfiltered access to this technology is problematic. And it says that, I was looking online, I found a headline from NPR. This was back in October of 2019. There's a report that more than half of U.S. children now own a smartphone by the age of 11. And that's scary to think about because we look at the graphic right next to it. Pornhub tells us that back in 2019, 76.6% of their traffic into Pornhub was viewed on a cell phone, a smartphone. And that's scary to think about because there's more than half of children by the age of 11, they have the smartphone, they have access to all of this. And so to cap all this off, nowadays pornography is the 3 A's is what it's known as. It's affordable, it's anonymous, and it's accessible. And those are important to understand. That's the way that porn is nowadays. The one that's most concerning to me is the anonymous, because anyone can act however they want to act in public and for everyone to see. But behind closed doors, they have access, all of us have access to some really dark areas of the internet, and child pornography is a part of that. And other sites that allow you to go seek out children to have sex with, that's a part of that. So that's important to understand, and those are the facts. That's the history of pornography. Now we're going to look at the overarching problem, the way that we see it. So this is a quote that came from the Watch Anna video. "This generation fights sex trafficking more than any generation has, and more than anyone has, this generation consumes porn." And so all that to say is that we believe there's a porn culture in America, not just in America, but in the world. And the only reason that the porn industry is booming and they're so successful, they're making all this money, is because people are continuing to watch. So if there was no demand, there would be no need for the supply. And so when I say there's a porn culture, I mean that in 2 ways. But first of all, porn is normalized. And so you can watch any movie or television show or even in music nowadays, and people are casually talking about porn like it's no big deal. Porn is becoming normalized. And even in middle school or high school conversations, I remember being a junior in high school and hearing in middle school, and hearing about middle schoolers that were downloading porn and watching porn. And that was back in 2007, 2008, I think. So even back then, it was a common thing for middle schoolers and young kids to be watching it. It was normalized, and for them to be talking about it like that. Number 2 is that people are desensitized. They think that it's not a big deal. They think, oh, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Boys will be boys, and girls will be girls, and whatever the case may be, it's becoming normalized, and people are being desensitized to the problem. They don't think it's an actual problem. So the way that we look at it, there's a solution to all this. So we understand the facts. We understand what we see as the overarching porn culture problem. Now we're going to look at the solution, and we'll look at the solution from three different perspectives. One is the individual, the second is the family, and the third is in the community as a whole. So with you as an individual, whoever is watching this, and for myself personally, the first thing and the best thing that we can do is refuse to click. We can just make that conscious decision right now to refuse to click, and then all of our behavior from there can go from there. But it's not just behavior modification. We have to have that change in our heart and the understanding in our minds that this is a problem and that this can lead into something dark. And even a casual viewership of porn that some might feel is casual is not, and it can be... it can lead to a very dark place. So first of all, if you're an adult, I hear a lot the excuse of, I have needs that aren't being met, and that's why I'm watching porn. And I think that is a terrible excuse. Why would you hold yourself to that standard? Having needs that aren't met is not an excuse to view pornography. Having needs that aren't met are a reason to go seek out a life-giving, loving relationship with somebody that you love and somebody that loves you back. And that way, that need will be met that way. You can seek it out that way. Porn is an easy way out, and that's dangerous to look at it that way. And second, if you're a child, don't fall for peer pressure. Like I said, I heard middle schoolers talking about it back 13 years ago, and that's, I'm sure, happening now, and even more nowadays too. In middle schools, high schools, even elementary school for that matter. It's becoming normalized, and just make the decision, refuse to click, don't fall for the peer pressure. People might make fun of you, but it's worth it. It's good to not participate in this type of behavior, as we explained earlier. And that goes for adults too. Don't fall for the peer pressure just because you have adult friends that are watching porn and they think you're weird because you choose not to. People actually will respect you for making that decision to not watch porn. And if they don't respect you, you don't need to be around them anyways. So that's the first thing as the individual. For the family, here's some things that you can do. First of all, the first thing you can do is start the conversation. That's the most important thing. If you haven't done so already, start the conversation. Like I mentioned earlier, the earlier you have this conversation, the sooner you get it started, the better, because you never know what your child might be exposed to, and you want to have them learn from you first before they're learning from the internet what sex is or anything else they might learn from the internet for that matter. So a few tips we like to give on starting the conversation. First and foremost, the safest place to, or maybe not the safest, but the easiest place to give this conversation is in a car. And I say that because if you're just in a room, a child might, the teenager might go, "Oh, I don't want to talk about this," and walk out of the room. But when you're in a car, they have their seatbelt on, you have their seatbelt on, you're driving down the highway, there's nowhere for them to go. And so that's good, but also a reason why the car is good is because teenagers are awkward about this conversation, like parents are also. And sometimes it's easier to have this conversation not face-to-face to where you're looking at each other eye to eye, but when you're in a car, you're looking forward in the same place and you're able to have this conversation a little bit more casually. So those are some tips on how to start this conversation, how to get it going. But another thing is to establish the family values. And I think this is important because it's not just changing behavior, and it's not just telling kids to stop doing this, stop doing that, or taking away devices from them, but you're creating values and establishing them in your family. Values like integrity, or we tell the truth, or we respect others. All of those fall in line with reasons why not to watch pornography. And then lastly, the third thing you can do is set up accountability between your child and with you, but also with you and your child. Even if you do something as simple as apologizing to your child for not having this conversation with them sooner, that's helpful. And then just opening that door so that child feels more comfortable and more safe to have this conversation with you, even though it might be awkward, it might be uncomfortable. We have Sheriff Salazar join us for a few of our presentations, and what he likes to say is that no one has ever died from an awkward conversation. And we believe that as well. So even though it might be awkward and uncomfortable, you will both survive. Everyone involved will survive. So that's important. And then lastly, in the community, what you can do is spread the word. So it's not just you as an individual and you as a family, but go out into your community and tell others what's going on, that this pornography pandemic is harmful and dangerous, not just to the individual, but the other people involved, whether it be other children or whatever the case may be. And so we found, this was the last graphic I pulled from Pornhub about their 2019 year in review. And you can kind of look at this graph, and it wasn't really clear on the graph in the article what all this meant. But as you can see, United States has a lot of traffic to Pornhub, and a lot more compared to all the other countries back in 2019. And so that's pretty alarming. That's scary to think about. And that just reveals that there is this problem in America. We have this porn culture, and that children are getting cell phones and tablets and technology at younger ages, and it's all, a lot of times it's unfiltered. And so children are being exposed to things that they unfortunately should not be exposed to. And then adults are also participating in this. So spread the word with your community, and you can send this presentation out to people, send this video out to people, or get other people to join the cause and join the fight to end child sex trafficking and end child pornography. And what I like to end with is hope. And this has been some heavy information. It's been hard to hear, and it's been hard to talk about as well. But I do believe that there is hope, and the hope comes from having these conversations. And as we continue to shed light on this problem and on this problem of pornography and child sex trafficking, together we can make a difference, and together we can decide to not click and refuse to click, and to help these children that are in need, that are unfortunately being exploited in such a way. And also there's hope. If you haven't had this conversation with your children yet, or you suspect your teenager might be viewing porn and you haven't talked to them yet, it's not the end of the world. You can still have a conversation with them, and there's still hope to continue and get them on the right path. And if you as an adult feel like you're addicted to porn, there's things that you can do as well. There's different avenues of recovery that you can go through that we have available on our website. You can take a look. We have several links up there, but there's still hope. There's nothing, as long as you're still alive and still on this earth, there's still hope that we can end this together, and that you can end any addiction and break any addiction off of you, so you can move forward in freedom. And that's all I have for everyone. Thank you so much for spending the time to view this video and to learn more about it. I would encourage you to share this video and spread the word, and we can end this together.